Hello, Irvington artists. For our next project, we are going to be talking about gesture lines, and we will be creating a wire gesture sculpture of a person. For this project, we're going to start by practicing some gesture drawing. Gesture drawing is kind of the opposite of Zentangling. It's quick, it's sketchy, it's not super detailed, and we're also going to be drawing from observation instead of imagination. We will be drawing people or figures in an interesting action pose. Now, usually artists will draw from real life models who are standing right in front of them, but since I don't have a model close by, I'm gonna use this artist mannequin right here. I'm gonna pose it the way I want with maybe one leg bent and kind of the arms doing I'm a little teapot kind of pose. And I'm just gonna quickly, but also carefully observing kind of the way the arms and the legs are bent. I'm gonna just start by drawing really quick sketchy lines. I usually start with the size of the head, and then it's almost like drawing like a really sloppy stick figure. I'm thinking about how long the spine might be, how it is connected to the hips, which are connected to the legs. I'll think about the way the legs might be bent. We have joints in our hips and in our knees and in our ankles that will cause the legs to bend in a certain way. And I will do the same thing with the arms, except with the arms we have joints in our shoulders, elbows, and wrists to kind of help us notice how the pose is captured. Notice I did not draw a face or hair or clothes or accessories or any other details. You're just noticing kind of the overall shape of the body. Now, I was using a mannequin, but you are actually going to model and draw with the people at your table. So you'll take turns doing really quick, sketchy drawings. They shouldn't really take more than a minute or a minute and a half each. It should be fast. And you'll take turns modeling, you'll take turns drawing. So you'll notice I split the page in my sketchbook into 4 sections. That way I'm not flying through the pages of my sketchbook and using them all up with the gesture drawing. So kind of create 4 different sections in your sketchbook, and then you'll take turns drawing the friends at your table. And it's okay if you mess up. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's all about practice and kind of training our eyes and our hands to kind of work together to draw what we see and capture the energy of those poses. The next step of this project is planning your wire sculpture. After you've picked a specific person or a type of person and filled out this planning sheet and created a planning sketch of what you would want your sculpture to look like, we are going to build an armature. An armature is kind of like the skeleton or the base of your sculpture. I have step-by-step directions that I'll leave on your tables. But you're gonna start with a long piece and a short piece of wire. The long piece is what you'll use first to sculpt the head, the torso, and the legs. And what I'm doing first is I'm kind of folding my wire in half, kind of like a U shape, and I'm trying to make it like the ends kind of even. And I'm crisscrossing and kind of eyeballing about how big I want this oval to be. This oval is actually going to be the head. If it's too big, you might not have room to have correct proportions, and you might wind up with legs that are too short. So it should be about, I'll say, no bigger than the size of your thumb. And you'll twist it a couple times to create your neck. And then you'll do kind of the same thing to kind of eyeball what would be a good size for your torso and a good length for your legs. And you'll twist again, and that will create kind of your hip area. And once you have that part finished, the head, torso, and legs, you're going to take the shorter piece of wire. This will become the arms. And what I'm going to do with the arms is I will lay it kind of where the shoulders are, and I want to make sure that it's about in the middle. The arms are kind of even on both sides, and kind of using my left hand to hold it steady. I'll use my right hand to get the arm wrapped through the torso 2 times. And you need to do that for each arm through each shoulder. So you can see it wrapped around. That part can be a little bit tricky, so definitely ask if you need some help. Once you have the arms attached, the next step is just kind of shaping your person into the gesture pose you want them to be in. Make sure that as you bend the arms or the legs, that you're making sure you're only bending at the joints in a way that would make sense. You can kind of curve the wire or bend the wire at the ends of the arms and the ends of the legs to create hands and feet as well. The next step of this project is using this thinner wire to attach to our sculpture to give it a more three-dimensional appearance. Right now, with just the armature, our sculpture kind of looks flat, almost like a stick figure. And what this does is it kind of, I think of it almost as like if the armature is the skeleton, what we're doing now is we're adding the organs, the muscle, the tissue, the fat, all the things that sort of cushion the skeleton to make, just like our actual bodies, to make us more three-dimensional. So I use the wire cutters to trim off some wire off the spool. I usually do about a wingspan or 2 arm lengths, and one end of the wire will get wrapped tightly around any sort of starting point. Right here I started with the neck, and then I'm just loosely wrapping the remaining wire around and around and around that oval shape that I started with for my head. And then if whatever's left over, I kind of just loosely tuck it within the sculpture. That way it doesn't, get caught on anything and it's kind of out of the way. And I repeat that. So right here, I'm going to cut off a new piece of wire. I'm wrapping, twisting it around the shoulder area, and I'll start wrapping that loosely around the torso. You don't need to wrap it super tight. If you keep it loose, that's kind of what keeps the body or the figure having kind of a more three-dimensional look to it. And you repeat this until, everything feels kind of full to you. You could have more kind of negative space showing or make it feel fuller. It's up to you. The final step will be adding up to 3 props for your person and then attaching it to a painted base. I'm so excited to see what you create.